to something quite interesting. It's interesting in one hand and maybe uninteresting in another hand, given the the validity of what has happened in the last few days. Would have with us in the studio Comrade Ben Asogwa, is State Chairman of the Trade Union Congress. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Good morning, Ben.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you for taking our time to come here today. But I'm just wondering, picking from one of the headlines on our dailies this morning, some of your comrades are saying that they are regretting not participating in the hunger strike. Why is that regret coming out now?
Anyway, that is a kind of personal statement because we've not collectively come together to say we regret. You know, we are like I'm here in the studio. I also have personal opinion as a person or opinions. That doesn't imply that maybe if I say I regret not being part of protests, it will now say that TUC said they regret. No. So because why we don't actually regret as a body is that we calculated the details of it. One, there are certain things we don't do. We don't join an action we don't even know the faces of its organizers. And as an organized body, we do things that must be accounted for. And we must be in charge of whatever we're doing. We must also be in control to a good extent. We don't like going into a situation where we'll be out there taking action and somebody will be doing another thing, or we may have a different motive. So we, from onset, we didn't have a clear picture of who and who were involved in that organization for that for the protest. And even if you look at what happened there, that would tell you that they didn't have clear leadership. So, and we wouldn't have just joined. So it wasn't just a sporadic determination or decision that we just came out and said we were not joining. We analyzed it and said, since it wasn't really clear to us, we were not joining as a body. We didn't tell any of our comrades that would have loved to join as an individual not to. But we said as organized labor, we're not going to be part of it. So there is nothing special to regret there. However, I know that the president of NLC said that based on what is going on in the country, having seen that no action, especially actions within the confines of the law, can be too much for what is going on in the country, because the situation is worsening by the day. So the regret is not to say that we took wrong decision for not joining, but I believe it implies the need for multiple actions against anti-people policies and actions of the government.
Well, speaking of the NLC president, he was arrested on Monday while going for an international conference, which was an official engagement. What's your take on this?
There we go again. You see, the country is gradually sliding away from democratic approach. You see, when you look at what is playing out in the country, it's becoming clearer to us that the present government doesn't want any dissenting voice from anybody. They don't want the voice of opposition or anybody that will say anything that is different from what they have in mind. They also want to flog us without anybody crying. That's what they want to do. And once you are speaking against their actions, once you are speaking against their policies, you've become an enemy. You know, the initial time the police invited him, we were saying that there was a different intention from what they were painting. And you saw it, even when he got there, there was no clear interrogation there. They were moving from one baseless corner to another. You can't even say that this is exactly what they invited him for. Now, the DSS said it was petition written by NLC, which means it's an NLC thing. Or did the NLC person or persons accuse the president of being a terrorist or what? They haven't told us. Because if it's labor matter that has to do with labor union activities, why should DSS be involved? That is the first question. Then if it borders on the nation, and you are saying this petition was written, when was it written? And why must it be when he was attending TUC conference, international conference for that matter, that you should hold him? Was there any restriction on his movement? Did you give him order not to move out of the country? Because sometimes when they talk, they believe that we're all dafts and they're the only people that know everything, principally because they were given the powers to lead. That you are given the power to lead doesn't mean that your followers do not have sense. That is what some people do not understand. And it doesn't also mean that you think faster than the people you lead. It's only that somebody must be in front. So the way they reason, the way they go about things in the country doesn't suggest that they actually understand the nitty-gritties of democracy, especially the law enforcement organs. And the DSS is a respectable organization. We are even shocked that they could condescend this law to the extent that they can be used at any point in time to execute such dirty action. I said it's dirty not because Joe Ajaero is above the law, but judging by his personality as the leader of a Congress and a country, they should know how to handle issues. They should know that is why it's an intelligent organization. If you don't do things intellectually, there is no need referring to you as an intelligent organization. So if they are saying that they invited Joe Ajaero and he didn't honor the invitation, they said they called him, then you take necessary actions. You can tell him, we invited you, you didn't come, we want you to come on social date again, or you are restricted from movement until you come here. Instead of causing unnecessary national embarrassment or international embarrassment. They were angry that the leader of TUC UK made a statement on it. But they don't know that what the action they took was an embarrassment on them. In fact, it would have been safer for them if Joe Ajaero was flying to Lagos. So it would have been an internal thing. But because he was heading to an international program that the world over knew about, did they expect that they would keep quiet? So let me not just dive into what the presidency has to say about that. I will concentrate on the question you asked me.
Of course, you can go
okay.
ahead.
Okay, you saw what Ajaero Onanuga wrote. So that shows, I can call it incompetence. I may not be wrong to say that. Because he was saying that the arrest has nothing to do with him being the president of NLC. Did he actually read what the DSS said? They said that it was due to petition written against him by NLC, some people in NLC. And we are saying that it has nothing to do with him as the president of NLC. If he wasn't the president of NLC, would NLC have written petition against him? So it's a clear indication that they don't even know. At times they believe they know, but they don't know. Okay, if you look at it again, he said that labor movement has been taking steps that stall the growth of economy of this country. Let Bayo Onanuga tell us the level, all the advice he has given to the president. What level of economic development has it brought to this country? He was talking about the sale of Port Harcourt refinery. He has already told Nigerians why those of them in government do not want our refineries to work. They want the refineries to remain redundant so that they can buy them over. That is just the truth. Because if that is not the truth, why should he make such reference? That in 2007, you wanted to sell, government wanted to sell Port Harcourt refinery, and we refused. I think it has also cleared us to an extent, because some people just believe we are playing. They don't even know that the danger we've prevented are more than the ones that are occurring. You can imagine that by now, Port Harcourt refinery would have been owned by an individual, because they wanted to sell it through the backyard, and we said no. So you are telling us that the same Dangote has now built the largest refinery in this world. Should he not be ashamed? So if, as an individual, he could build refinery, and he started by wanting to buy Port Harcourt refinery, that tells you that it's not beyond being fixed. That tells you that it's not beyond working. Because nobody will see a dead end and go into it. No businessman can do it. For Dangote to have rooted for it, for Blue Star conglomerate to have looked for that outfit to buy over, that means there's something good there. And they are frustrating every effort to make it work, because they still want to take it over. So he should tell us the policies they have made. Okay, they mentioned, he was talking about that. Has he forgotten how they sold out the power sector, the electricity? The power sector of Nigeria, and then started giving it different names. For over a decade now, after selling the power sector, they told us that after going into privatization in the power sector, like electricity, I mean, that everywhere there will be enough electricity supply, there will be this and that. The way they were talking, we expected that less than 5 years, nobody would remember generator again in the country. Today, what is happening? People are still on estimated bills. People pay through their nose. How much have we gained in the privatization of the electricity? And we're now telling Nigerians that we're working against them by refusing the sale of our refineries. Is that not an evidence that he doesn't even understand what Nigeria stands for and what the public stands to lose by doing that? So now, look at the issue of fuel subsidy removal. He's saying that labor movement has been taking steps that stalled economic growth. When we were talking about fuel subsidy removal, we said before you remove subsidy, fix refineries. Make Nigeria workable in such a way that will not depend on the international market to determine our own local price, being an oil-producing nation. They said if we remove fuel subsidy, all our problems will be gone. We will revive our economy. How much revival have we gotten? We've only gotten extra borrowing. To the extent that we've gotten to the point, you know, if you become a debtor to the extent that when you are moving out, you'll be afraid of coming back with your shoes because your creditors could seize it on the road. That is when you know that you've reached the climax. Nigeria has gotten to the extent that even when our aircrafts leave the country, you may not be sure of the aircraft coming back again because it could be grounded because of debt. Is it not a kind of an evidence that those key players there are bad players? Then let me tell you the truth. Nigerians have hired bad elements to run the country. Because I wonder why the spokesperson for this country will come out to say that labor movement is stalling economic growth when they have crashed the economy of this country. Let Bayo Onanuga tell us how much was dollar to naira before this government came in. How much is it today? Is it a labor that cost it? Since he's an economic expert, since they have the best economic team, what is happening? The result we are seeing today shows that there are bad players in the pitch. So it's not only, you know, the worst thing with a bad player is one that scores own goals. Even if you're not playing well, but they keep on scoring own goals against us in this country. Right. We are running backwards. We're running backwards.
I just wanted to ask this, whether it's something that you can chew on a little bit. Do you think this move by the government is, in a way, trying to stall some things that you guys are doing? Because before you guys even had the 70,000 naira minimum wage, it took a long time. This move, do you think it's a decoy by the government to stall your activities or your movement? Because it's beginning to look like if they don't do what they are doing, Ajaero will have time to start planning one or two things, because you cannot increase fuel pump price more than twice within a space of less than 2 years, and then you want the workers to just store. You know, so I'm just wondering whether you guys have any other plan aside strike or aside any other thing, because that's when he was released yesterday, you guys said you were going to have an emergency meeting to.
Yeah, that was NLC.
Yeah, so I'm wondering whether you guys think that it's a decoy to stall the activities of NLC so that he wouldn't make any other move, you know, with calling workers strike or to increase minimum wage. What do you think?
If I should be precise, my answer would be yes. You know, if you look at the scenario, let me tell you why they are not outrightly fighting the TUC president as well. They know that if they put both of them on the same spot of being fought this way, the whole world will know that they are actually targeting labor movement. So they decided to take Ajaero'S first. And that is why the president of TUC is not keeping quiet. That is why he has been voicing it, because he knows that by the time they finish dealing with him, they will come back for him. That is the truth. And if you look at the scenario, what would tell you that what you just asked me, that the answer should be yes, is that the scenario is very clear. Look at what they did to Serap. Going to their office, the DSS condoned the office and they were demanding for the directors. They wanted to arrest the directors. Why? Because those people have been speaking out all this while against their policies, against their anti-human rights activities. And because of it, they decided to clamp them down. So what they are doing to labor movement is to weaken us, because it seems that in this country today, many organizations that ought to talk are no more talking. They have used tribal and religious sentiment to weaken the people. And we are the only ones standing to a good extent, to some extent. You know why I use the word to some extent? Because they are really still trying to penetrate us. using the same instrument of tribe and religion. But I know quite well that they've not yet succeeded. And because they know that today, if they take any action, the only people they will look at and see coming out to challenge them are those from the organized level. So the only option they have is to nip it in the bud. What they are doing is to stop further action. If you watch it, the fight we've embarked on within this period of 1 year that Tinubu came into government is even overtaking what we've done before. But he has forgotten that the APC is a product of anti-government action, anti-public government action. We spoke against Jonathan because we felt he was not doing things the right way. He himself, President Tinubu, was part of what we were doing. Then we were sent to him. Then labor movement was sent to him. Where was somebody like Bayo Nanugaden? Does he know that his master was part of a good number of our protests, directly and indirectly? Overtly and covertly, he was part of it. He kept on gingering the labor movement to fight on and get our rights. Now it's not our right to talk against bad policies because he's the president. Can you imagine that? It's not our right because Tinubu has become the president. You see, so when people are doing things, they don't know that posterity will never forgive them if you go up and go down at the same time.
So what happens? What's the strategy going forward? Are you changing strategy? Are you doing meeting stakeholders? What exactly are you going to do now? Because workers are actually crying about this latest increase in pump price of fuel. People are buying fuel for 1,002, 1,004, 1,007. What is the work the TUC and the NLC doing about this matter?
All right. One thing they don't know is that if you want to harden us, confront us this way. Because when you do it, you become hardened. For instance, Ajaero'S is no more afraid of being arrested because they have been arrested severally. So there was a time in this state that the sitting governor arrested me because of an action. I can tell you that by the time I was leaving the police station, I was determined to oppose every wrong action he took. I was determined. I was more determined before I went there. In fact, one of those days, when that particular authority was talking to me, and he started threatening, I said, "Okay, you can also throw me back to the police custody. I don't care, because we must do this." Because at that point, I believe I've seen it all. Let's go on with the fight. Because we don't fight on just cause. One thing there is that we have our own legitimate strategies. I wouldn't stay here to tell you everything, because we don't act like you wake up and start acting. We act based on order of leadership. For instance, we take decisions at National Executive Council level and trickle it down. So we have our own plans. And let me tell you, what will make you understand how deceptive those in power can be, is that from onset, everything they told us they were going to do, they never did any. Remember when the fuel subsidy was removed? We marshaled out different points, different demands, one of which was CNG conversion and building of CNG plants and stations at different locations. Do you have any around? Have you seen anyone, at least start from this state where you are? Can you see any? Even if you go somewhere else to convert your vehicle to CNG, where will you get the CNG product? You cannot see compressed natural gas anywhere to buy, at least within this vicinity. That tells you how unserious. The same president told us that the Port Harcourt refinery was going to work in December 2023. Did it work? He told us he had ordered for thousands of CNG vehicles. Which one have you seen? So, even when we were negotiating for minimum wage, one of the major reasons our people agreed to 70,000 naira, which was far below what we intended, because we got to 250,000 naira and stopped there. And we were insisting. He now came up, the president himself, he didn't send anybody. He came up himself to say, if you are demanding for 250,000, what if I give you the 250,000 naira and you see fuel go up to 1,500, 2,000 naira? By the time he was saying it, we never even knew that it could get this fast to where we are. Because if you look at how much fuel is being sold, it's a little below what he mentioned. Just a little. And the next increase, it will supersede it. So, and when that was brought up, our leaders at that level began to consider either ends. If you continue insisting on this and they keep on increasing petroleum pump price, definitely we'll run into the trouble of allowing an action that will affect all Nigerians, even the non-government workers. So based on that, we decided to agree to accept 70,000 naira. Now you've not even implemented. Do you know, as we talk, the consequential adjustment of 70,000 naira has not even come out. What kind of government is this? Consequential adjustment that ordinarily should come out as quickly as possible. And you don't want anybody to talk. You don't want anybody to say anything. You just want us to sit and watch you. Because you are the president? Are you not president of human beings? Is it president of animals? If we are actually human beings, how do you expect us to keep quiet when things are going the wrong way? How long does it take, or should it take government to produce consequential adjustments of what you even offered yourself, what we accepted out of pains, not out of satisfaction? We accepted it out of pains and out of frustration, and even to bring the consequential adjustment, you've not brought it. So he wants almost a whole year arrears to accumulate before paying, and be rest assured that no governor will even accept to pay anything like arrears. As we talk, some states, including my own state, Enugu here, have started making plans to implement minimum wage. The problem we have now is that we don't even have any reference to make, because there is no consequential adjustment from federal government that was supposed to produce it through Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. So if that is the case, that also means that we are now at the mercy of governors.
Recording
because they
in
can
progress.
now churn out anything as consequential adjustment. It's only when you have that one produced by the legitimate authority that you can now begin to enforce it at state level. So we don't even have anything to enforce. Okay. So if you look at all those things, definitely we have our own plans. And we will not keep quiet, because we've seen that even the 70,000 naira has already been overtaken by events based on the recent increase. And believe it or not, the impact on the pockets of Nigerian workers is dead on arrival. That is the truth.
Let's look towards the DSS occupying Serap's office in Lagos. Now, just like you said the TUC president has not also kept quiet, because once they are through with Ajaero'S, they'll be going for him. Do you think there should be a joint effort between the TUC, NLC, and the Serap to combat this move from the government?
Anyway, if you are saying there should be, it will look futuristic. Even as we talk, we've had some points of agreement. But what we don't do is making it look like we are working together with them on the same bench. What we do is that when we have common issues, we come together to agree on what to do. But they work as an organization of their own. So we have TUC, we have NLC, and centrally we have what we call organized labor, which binds the two organs of labor movement in Nigeria together. So we take critical decisions together, even as we operate as two different labor centers and have different affiliate unions, but we have meeting points. So you remember when Ajaero'S was harassed in Imo? It was the TUC president that led action against government on that harassment. So that is the way we do it. If it had happened to the president of TUC, we would have expected also the NLC president to do the same thing. And that is the way we do. So we have this level of synergy and understanding. We may not have practically the same way of action, because I know that each of the labor centers have their own modus operandi. They have a kind of relationship in the way we do things. So for instance, sometimes we decide to do certain things the way we do them. But when it comes to common interest, we unite to fight it. If DSS did not release Joe Ajaero in the night of the day before yesterday, by yesterday morning you would have seen action being taken by the two labor centers. And so the president of TUC would have led that action. That is the way we work. So as it is, Serap has interests of humanity because they fight for human rights and other socio-economic activities in the country, which is what we believe in. So we have a common interest to an extent. We may not have the same approach, but we have common interest. So in a good number of cases, we agree and we act based on our own provisions. So even civil society organizations, you know, we have pro-labor civil society organizations. Government has weakened civil society organizations because of this issue of freedom of association. So they also brought in their own people to form civil society organizations here and there. And that is why if a group comes out to condemn bad policy made by government, you see one civil society organization coming to attack you or to defend government, that is not a real civil society organization in this real sense of it. It's an extreme right organization formed by government or funded by government, most of them. So it might not be all of them, but most of them. But what is baffling us is that what you see today, you know, when we talk about fascism, that is authoritarianism in the real sense of it. It doesn't just start, you wake up and say authoritarianism. No, it starts as a gradual thing. The present government is becoming intolerant to opposition and different opinions. They are becoming intolerant to criticism. But a good leader should understand that when people condemn certain things, it helps you to reshape your system and your thinking.
Right, but again, so many persons think that you people have been compromised, given what has happened in the past, especially as it concerns accepting 70,000 minimum wage, that you guys stayed on 250 for quite a long time. In fact, you started from over 500,000 down all the way to 250. And it was when, at the point you met with the president, that was when you and it wasn't even, it wasn't, they said that the meeting didn't even last up to 20 minutes. You just accepted. And then now you are saying, you are confirming that he mentioned to you guys that, do you want this thing to remain at 250 and then we increase it? I mean, even in South Africa, the minimum wage, if you calculate the Rand to Naira thing, is around 375,000 Naira minimum wage. And the price of 1 liter of fuel is 21 Rand. In terms of Nigerian currency, is 1,800. So that would have been a better option, in fact. If you have 250,000 Naira minimum wage, and then you increase the popcorn price of fuel, it was more like a missed opportunity on your part. Don't you think so?
Okay, you think that way? I want to ask you, how many Nigerians are civil servants, are public servants? How many of our people are earning salaries? So, and when we defend workers, we also bear the masses in mind. We don't take steps that will just benefit us and negatively affect the public. We know. Ordinarily, you know, we are no more bothered about allegations of being compromised or whatever. That is Nigerians for you. Sometimes they turn and fight their own and then uphold. That is why even if you repeat election today, they will make the mistakes that they've been making because they have wrong judgment on every issue. I'm sorry to say this. They have wrong judgment on. So, is it because we were compromised that government is now chasing after our people? So after compromising, after selling out the rights of Nigerians, the same government that we sold the rights to is now coming to arrest the leader of NLC as a compensation, as an appreciation for compromising on their behalf. So you see, that is why I say that sometimes we don't reason things the right way. Ordinarily, they should have known that by the actions and inactions of government, there is nothing like compromising there. They are even seeing us as the enemies they have in the system. If not, they wouldn't have been looking at us this way. All these actions you see coming up wouldn't have been there. You see, it was only organized labor that came out boldly even during the election to take certain steps, which is still a point of anger in the mind of the president up to date. In fact, it's one of the reasons the presidency is angry with Joe Ajaero as a person. One of the reasons, because sometimes we keep on shying away from the truth. Is it a spirit that will tell us the truth? One of the reasons they are practically fighting against Ajaero was some steps he took during the election.
So it's both personal and political.
Yes, and political. You saw it in the letter written by Bayo Onanuga. Let it just be that I'm guessing. Bayo Onanuga said that he has decided to play partisan politics. Does he think that it's only in Nigeria that labor movement plays partisan politics? Go to Germany. It's a labor leader that is the president. And it was the labor movement that determined that. Go to Cuba. It's the same thing. It's the labor movement that calls the shots when it comes to politics. They will tell you that this person is, that he has all the contents of a tyrant and cannot be the president, and that person will never be the president. And they will boldly say it. So in Nigeria, as a labor leader, if I mention anything against you during the election, you will go and cock it somewhere. Every day you open it and check the contents. Because he said, is Joe Ajaero not a citizen of the country? Does the law not permit him also to participate in politics? You know, initially they were caging public office holders and civil servants from participating in politics using ordinary policies until the Supreme Court quashed it. If not, they would have sued him. They would have taken it up against him that as a public servant, that he shouldn't have participated in politics. So when you look at all these things, that tells you that when we talk about compromising, see, labor movement is not an anti-government organization. We are part of government. We don't even fight them. But we don't believe you should take wrong policies or take wrong actions, and we'll be watching. We are the spokespeople for the masses. As an activist group, it's our duty to ensure that we checkmate some activities. We don't antagonize. If that is why each time we say don't do this, we'll give you an alternative. We don't condemn what we are doing without at least profiling solution to it. That was why when we pushed for subsidy to remain until they fixed refinery, when we now saw that they were hell-bent, in fact they removed it, we started devising alternatives. We said do this and do this to relieve the pains of the masses. So when it comes to agreeing to 70,000 naira, let me tell you one thing. It was never because anybody was bribed. We looked at it beyond the workers, beyond salary earners, those that are earning salary from government. And let me tell you one other thing you have to understand. The value of money is not in the mention of the amount, but what that money can do. It's what it can do, what it can buy for you, what it can achieve for you. That is what determines the value. We could have earned 250,000 naira that inflation will erode. But unfortunately, the same government, chameleon can never change. It's still unleashing more mayhem on Nigerian workers and the masses. Because we didn't expect this sporadic increase again. At least if they were wise enough, they should have kept this thing under control. At least to implement the minimum wage. And we'll see the impact first. Let people breathe first. And you know, we have a very bad system right now. We don't even have the legislative arm. We have a rubber stamp legislative arm that passes everything into law. If you want to sell those refineries tomorrow, the legislative arm we have in the country will stamp it without discussion.
Wow.
They will just come and mention it and stamp. And that is why we are standing bold to say, don't do those things that will rock Nigeria. Because they don't understand that, in fact, what they are interested in is accumulating wealth for themselves. But they should not worry. If you continue accumulating wealth to the disadvantage of the masses, someday even those your children you are leaving the wealth for may not be able to enjoy it, which is what we are seeing today. All this insecurity and whatever you see, they are part of products of bad leadership we've seen in the past.
Comrade Ben, that's over. Let's leave it there for now. We're going to continue engaging with these issues with a view to finding lasting solutions. Thank you again for your time. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're back shortly. We're connecting to Abuja, the federal capital, for more on the discourse related to something very important you'd like.